Hello, my name is Cornell Green, and I am the Failure Guy. Welcome to the podcast. On this episode of the Failure Guy podcast, my guest is Joanna Tress of the Matana 5-Dimensional Creative Experience. Joanna, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the conversation.
Hello, Cornell. I am so happy to be here with you and look forward to our conversation today.
As do I. And full disclosure for those of you playing along at home, this is for those of you who are watching us or listening to us on any of the various podcast channels, either Apple or Audible or iHeartRadio or Spotify. You will notice that this is season 2 of the Failure Guide podcast. Season 1 were the episodes that I recorded from 2019 to 2020, and season 2 started in 2024. Joanna was actually my first guest on season 1, and we had a lovely conversation, and everything went well, except I did not capture her audio. So we record this as a visual, a video podcast, and what you're hearing on the audio streams is just the audio portion of that. So we had a great conversation. She was coming in through Zoom. I record this on desktop software called OBS Studio, and everything went great. I transitioned back and forth between screens. Eventually, I'll post these episodes up on my YouTube channel. But after we had that lovely conversation, I went to the playback. It was basically me for an hour talking to someone who was in a silent movie.
Your imaginary friend.
No, my friend was very real. It's just she didn't have a voice. It was like was it The Little Mermaid or something like that? I should have checked.
Muted.
Yes, because we can only see you above. Maybe you didn't have feet at that point in time. I don't know exactly what was going on. But anyway, ever since then, every episode since, I make sure that I do a sound check. And we did a sound check before we started this. And I've been waiting for so long since I relaunched the podcast for season 2. And once again, glad to have you back. Thank you, first of all, twice. Thank you, Joanna, for launching the Failure Guide podcast with me. And thank you for coming back so we can actually get a podcast episode that people can hear what you have to say. So welcome to the conversation. And it's not just going to be a monologue this time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Cornell.
So, as I like to start out with, I know you, of course, but my listeners and viewers do not. So, why don't you let people know who you are and what you're all about in the world?
Okay, terrific. I am an entrepreneur, singer, songwriter, entertainer, wife, mother, grandmother, and love to bring out the creativity and artistic expression in other people, because they're joining me in just living that life where we want to beautify the world with our unique gifts. And I stand for people of all backgrounds being fully expressed. That's really what I'm on the earth to do. So in living with that, I've recreated things so that I can find just the right product to offer people that they find value in. And I think this time around, let's see, that 5-dimensional creative experience started during the pandemic on Zoom.
Okay.
A judgment-free zone where we could discuss ideas and play shop them, not workshop them, but play shop them, so that we could develop some things that we could do to really share our thoughts and original things with the world. So we had fun, and I thank you for participating with me.
Okay. Now, 5-dimensional creative experience, that sounds either esoteric or something like, quantum physics string theory. So for those who out there who are probably looking at their screens or listening to in their earbuds with a puzzled look on their face, could you say a bit about what exactly is going on with this 5-dimensional experience that you're talking about?
Yes, that really is key to experiencing life to its fullest. Because let's just take our 5 empirical senses of sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, right? And let's walk across the bridge of imagination. Let's take take in the world with those senses, import the power of our imagination, and now we can operate on a higher level than other living creatures, than the animals, because we have intuition, higher perception, memory, volition, that will. And there are five in addition uh, to the imagination. This is something I learned from Bob Proctor. I just usually forget one when I try to list all of them. But you see, just operating a higher vibration in which we want to create because we feel the emotions in our bodies, in every fiber of our being, our authentic voice.
Okay.
And those ideas are popping. We're in that state of flow. And it takes some exercises often to up level to get to that point from how we normally function, especially as adults. We don't spend a lot of time in our imaginations with creativity and fun and play. So my experiences are to delve into that zone, create, share, and be inspired to that after this little gathering that we have, that we're going to bring that exciting, extra, complete dimensional experience into everything that we do.
Okay.
So it's going to add pep to our step and just help us to shine brightly and powerfully with who we truly are.
Okay. Now, I noticed you used a phrase. You said "want to create." So let me ask you: do you feel that creativity and the desire to create? Do you feel that's an innate aspect of all people?
I think so. Absolutely. There are a few exceptions because we're very diverse as a human race,
Right.
Neurologically, socially, culturally, economically, etc. But most children like to pretend. Most children are not encumbered by a lot of the socialization and acculturation that comes later in years, like when we start going to school. So under the age of 5, when you're just this exuberant human being who's full of curiosity and learns through play and is hardly afraid of anything because they haven't been told exactly what to be afraid of yet for the most part, that's a genius that's operating at a genius level because they're learning so many important things at that age. And when we tap into that beautiful essence of a human being, just a pure creature that is amazing in its form, when we tap into that, we all have that inside of ourselves. But when we're younger, that's our basic formation. And as we get older, we add more and more layers, this layer upon layer on top of that, so that it's insulated. And there's some distance between the core of who we are as beautiful, creative artists with no negative bias, just being a beautiful human being with ideas and limitless imagination and energy. We go from that state to these layers of insulation and these paths that we follow that have so many limitations on them, whether it's a job description or a prescribed role in a relationship, whatever that is. And creativity then can be a challenge because when I would have my play experiences and like some of the artists and creatives who can operate in that zone, when we talk about certain ideas, they're like, oh, sure, I have this for a book, TV show, fashion show, book, album. But then other individuals who were not in touch with that because they hadn't actively engaged with their creativity and imagination for maybe decades, they were lost. They like a deer in headlights. And that's where I saw the necessity of raising the vibration, high energy activities that are fun to get into that zone so that we can all share in an experience.
Okay. Now, a little housekeeping and technical check here. Are you wearing a mic that might be knocking into some jewelry that you're wearing? Because there's a little click every now and again as we're talking.
Well, I am wearing these headphones to try to control the sound. And I
Right.
do have this necklace.
Okay. I think your
Is
microphone
that it?
might. Yeah, I think the mic might
All
be.
right.
Yeah.
So it's better to take this off so we don't have a lot of distractions. And unfortunately, I don't have complete control of my environment either.
No, that's okay.
So
Neither do I.
and
I'm here in Harlem, New York. So if the sirens go
yeah,
by, we're just going to hear, emergency response. I always say, save a life. That could be me in the back of the ambulance one of these days. So,
right. Okay.
but hopefully,
So
I
I
mean,
hope
hopefully not.
this
I'm not predicting it, but I'm just saying.
right. So I hope that let me see ear up. Let me take off my earrings. Look at that. So I looked cute for the introduction, and now it's we have to maintain the quality of this audio because
Okay.
it's a
Yes, there
podcast.
we go.
Maybe I forgot about that.
And again, hey,
So
it's the Failure Guy podcast. I mean, our first conversation was an absolute failure on my part because I failed to capture your audio. So it's, if anything, it's on brand. And when in season 1, I used to edit the conversations. And I would edit out all of the pauses and the repeat words. And actually, it took me 3 times as long as it took to record the conversation to edit them. And all of my guests said, wow, you make me sound like this really polished speaker. And it's like, yeah, but A, it was just too labor intensive. And B, I
yeah,
thought, wait a minute. The theme of this podcast is addressing and destigmatizing failure. So why am I trying to make a podcast called The Failure Guy sound like it was perfect? It just
right.
actually not only doesn't go it's off message. So
Yeah.
now the conversation we have, this is the conversation, warts and all, and the little clicks and whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you listening at home, that's what happens when you have a conversation. There are interruptions. As of course we've famously seen, you mentioned that the Matana 5DX experience began on Zoom. We all remember that famous. I think it was an economist who was in Britain, and he was on the Zoom, and his child came into the background. And then the mother slid in like she was a baseball player, sliding into third, on her hands and knees, dragging the kid out. And the kid just like, hey, Dad, what's going on? And then the dad was just like kind of trying to shush it away a little bit, but never breaking his flow, staying focused on the camera. He's like, you know what? I'm home, folks. And these are my
Yes.
kids. So that's what's going to happen. I'm not in the office. This is just a room. My daughter knows that I'm here. I'm daddy to her. I might
That's
be
right.
whatever my title is to you guys, but she's like, hey, Dad, what are you doing? Oh, can I say hello? Hi.
Yes. Of course, they're precocious. See, we're talking about children.
Yes,
And that
yes,
precocious, curious energy, and
yes,
there are no boundaries. I'm a part of
yes,
everything.
yes. And speaking of children, I notice that a lot of the conversations I have with my guests tend to come back to children and childhood. And I often, when I address failure, I use the metaphor. I say, everyone, especially those of us who are parents or who've grown up in the presence of young children, we know this, that every attempt that a child has in walking is failure until they finally start walking. It takes up to a year to get this. They have to master standing on their legs, maintaining their balance, putting one foot in front of the other, putting alternate feet in front of the other. And I always, the little pause, I say, you ever notice that children learn to dance before they learn to walk?
Yes.
The music comes on like, that's my jam. There we go. Hey,
That's
yeah.
right.
And then all of a sudden they go from crawl to run. And suddenly you have to baby-proof the place because once they get the hang of walking, they are gone. But I say if children addressed failure the way that adults do, we would all still be crawling on our hands and knees. And so somewhere in our development, this joy, the wonderment of life, that everything is a new experience and an adventure, gets drilled out of us and trained out of us and suppressed and stifled. And we lose that. We almost become afraid to explore. And this is what fascinated me when I first got to know what the 5-dimensional creative experience was all about. Because I remember it's like, wait a minute, I get creativity and whatever. I myself, and once in a future life, used to be a musician. But how do you make a living on creativity? I can see where that's a pursuit or a hobby or a conversation. But how is that a business? Now, of course, I understand what that looks like, but the folks who are listening to this don't know you. So if you could take a while and explain from the conversations you just had into the actual Matana 5-dimensional creative experience, what does that look like from a perspective of you having a conversation, engaging people as clients, and what the value is that you deliver to these folks.
Yes, thank you so much, because it took a couple of years of experimentation to find out to create something that's consumable. So I would go to networking events, community events, and just invite people to come to explore their creativity in a safe place where I can guide them, mentor them, ignite them, etc., and then see what those results were to take it to the next level. The next level would be to work with me directly one-on-one in creating these projects, because I have a background in the performing arts. So yes, I sing, I dance, I act, I play an instrument, creative expression, I write, I compose, all those type of things. Now my husband, Matt in Matana, Matthew and Joanna, he's a dancer, a DJ, a poet, positive rapper, etc. So when it comes to the performing arts, the two of us together, we also can draw. We sort of span over a lot of the performing and visual arts, so that we could bring some of our background to support someone else and actually help them with a project. Find opportunities to showcase ways to practice and improve or polish if they need it. Ways to share their gift with the world, and really have the mindset and have the inner attitude, be empowered from within, and get that courage to be like the boundless children, right? And hey, let's go and sort of liberate. We've got to liberate ourselves from some of those limitations that have prevented us from being fully expressed. But what I found is that there were so few people who were interested in that. So I'm going to these events and I'm inviting them, well, just come on, just try it. I just want to watch. I want to see what other people do with the other people. I'll just, what? This is an experience. You're supposed to let it go. So that's where I found like a disconnect. I would have low, like the highest level of attendance I had at one of these intimate events. It was 13 people. And we talked about dreams. Like the more people, the merrier. That was an awesome experience. And I am happy that I was able to facilitate some creative expression, that after the event that people went on to bigger and better things, stayed in touch with me, and I was able to get a couple of paying clients. But yeah, you can't pay the bills with just a handful of paying clients.
True enough.
Right. So what I did was I decided to create a position for myself called an employee engagement and retention consultant. So this is where I'm going to meet the people who need that creative expression, that platform, that release, etc., who are interested in getting in touch with that artistic expression that's not being shared at this time and really developed. I'm going to meet them at work because there are plenty of frustrated creatives who are working that day job, and they're not giving it their all. They don't know how to transform their current working employment experience into a stepping stone for their dream. They don't know how to craft an exit plan to actually live those dreams, to make these projects a reality. There are plenty of people who are late bloomers. So by me going to employers and as an employee benefit through the human resources department, so you have life insurance, health insurance, you've got your dental and vision, hearing, right? You've got, okay, guess what? How about invest in your teams with an experience that allows them to think about what their strengths are, what they bring to the table, just embrace their value as a whole human being, whether it's fully recognized or not in their job description. If they just have that paradigm shift of acceptance and pride in who they are and bringing their best to the table, they're going to perform better. They're going to feel better about getting up in the morning and going to their job. They're not going to quit their day job in frustration and then create even more financial havoc amongst themselves because they lose that steady paycheck. So I'm here to help them to understand how they can be their full, authentic, and creative self even within this, and to leverage that job. Hey, while you're making that money, you need to save it, invest it, develop your plan, and then I can help them on that one-on-one basis.
Okay.
So if I talk to a team of 50 and I get 2 people out of there who want to talk to me offline, thank you so much for opening this up. I feel better about my job. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be a boss at it. And by the way, Joanna, I do have this idea. And then, all right then. Okay. And then we can work one-on-one. And I have a package. We're going to have some form or fashion of that dream in 6 weeks. We got to put a date on it and then be able to just create that. And I have proof of concept because I was challenged to put a musical that was in my head on stage within 90 days. And I did it in 93.
Okay.
That's an example of, yes, I say I'm your advocate for your creative voice. I'm here for you. I'm taking a stand and I'm going to support you, and let's use whatever resources I have to help make it happen. And it's going to transform people's lives.
Okay. Now this is fascinating as I was listening to you, and I say this often, and those of you listening at home, those of you who have heard several Failure Guide podcasts, particularly season 2, I say this all the time. My guests tend to be people that I know personally and professionally, and I've known them for a number of years. Yet each conversation we have, and remember, this is the second conversation I've had with Joanna inside the context of the Failure Guide podcast. Yet I am still learning new things that I did not know. The whole, because at first you said employee engagement, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, why would an employer pay you to what? To make their employees creative, and maybe they're going to, branch off and fly away. But it takes me back to my, former life as a corporate IT professional. And in the 90s, when I worked at when I worked at Payne Weber in New Jersey, in Weehawken, they had a floor in that office building that was a gym. And all of the members got to go to the gym. You could go there on your lunch break. You didn't have to because, had to take a ferry to Weehawken. There really wasn't much out there. It wasn't like it was Manhattan. So you could, instead of going out and eating a sandwich, you could go to the gym. You could work out. There was a shower. There were locker rooms. And I thought about this, especially as I became an entrepreneur, and I think more like the boss rather than the minion. It's like, okay, first of all, people who want to work out, they don't have to go anywhere, so you don't lose that productivity time of the transition of them traveling there and back. Secondly, healthier employees take fewer sick days, and they're more productive.
Yeah.
Thirdly, that benefit, that non-financial compensation, is more likely to keep employees satisfied and therefore to retain them. Because you were talking about, I forget exactly what it was you were saying, that to keep people from becoming dissatisfied and leaving, not only the people themselves who just leave without an exit strategy and they're financially disadvantaged, but a lot of organizations fail to realize the value of institutional knowledge. You got that 15-year employee that you don't realize a lot of the gears and the mechanism spinning is inside that person's head. It's not written down in a book. You might have, thousands of files on your computer, but none of those files are the operation of your business. If you don't keep that person satisfied, even if they don't leave you for better, sometimes they just tell you, take this job and shove it. And even if they didn't think that through very well, neither did you. And so I really started to understand, wow, right, keeping your employees, this is like a benefit, and it's kind of more 21st century thinking. And, I am part of a business mastermind, and inside of it, I sort of jokingly talk about how I'm looking at the battle between the technical left-brained me and what I call the woo-woo sort of esoteric spiritual stuff. Of course, I came to realize I had it backwards. And what's real is the vibrational, the intangible, what we might call the spiritual, whether you're religious or not. And I'm working on my second book, which is entitled Born Again Capitalist. The subtitle of which is, run a for-profit business without sacrificing your soul. And the very beginning of the book, I mentioned the fact that one of the phrases I want to debunk is this concept of work-life balance. I was thinking about this last year, and I was like, wait a minute, what? That phrase doesn't even make any sense. Question, what part of my work isn't part of my life?
Yes.
Do I become a zombie when I punch the clock? Am I holding my breath for 8 hours? Everything I do is part of my life. So there's no such thing as balancing my work, my play, my life, my love. You don't balance anything against your life. You fit everything in the context of your life. So what you're talking about is having people as employees have a richer life experience on and off the clock. And any employer that doesn't understand that that's a benefit, pardon the bluntness, but is an idiot, in my opinion.
Can I give you a couple examples?
Yes,
in real life
please.
that helped me on that path. I worked for, this is going back 10 years ago.
Wow.
I worked for one of the top employee benefits organizations on the planet.
Mm.
And there were 2 levels of this employee engagement that I was involved in. Now, most people, they think about, yes, they remember my birthday, we have a birthday cake, we have pizza parties, we have the annual picnic, etc., right? Let's go bowling and do karaoke. All right, you have that.
The typical low-hanging fruit stuff that you can make entries in a CRM and automate that stuff.
Exactly. And then on the other hand, though, the deeper level that this company actually wanted to be a paragon is that employee engagement that helps people feel good about working for the company so that they would stay and recommend it to their family and friends. So on that deeper level, so I served on that corporate employee engagement council for a year and got some amazing training and wonderful conversations and really just the psychology of it too. So the art and the science of keeping people feeling good about their job and their company. So yes, there's a component of communication between the team, so to speak, and management, leadership, executives.
Right.
But also, if it is to be, it's up to me. When you help someone to embrace their power, people want to feel heard, seen, and empowered. They want to feel valued and appreciated.
Yes.
So I remember, the big fun raffle for the big screen TV. I remember the talent show that I participated in twice at work. I remember the chili cook-off where we're having one department get judges from another department. Let's mix and mingle a little bit. Yeah. But what stuck with me the most was that concept of taking the time to really share with your employees, hear from them, and know what things from their perspective, but encourage them to pour into themselves to develop personally and professionally to bring their best selves to this position. And I think about Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He was a salesman for business machines or computer. I can't remember if it was Xerox or IBM. It was one of those two.
Right.
And he started having those ideas about, being an entrepreneur and being a real estate expert, gaining wealth through that. But before he even got his first property, he wanted to become the best at what he was doing, to become the best salesman, to really refine himself. And so when he was sitting there at the top of the leaderboard in sales and commissions, and he comes up to work in his red sports car, feeling fabulous, and these other guys in their Toyotas, what's up with him? See, he was the best and became refined in his own right in that position before he even went to do something else. Okay. And see, that's very important because my failures in life in the past are I was frustrated by, injustice on a corporate level, or stressed out, burnt out because of being a divorced mom of 3 sons and dealing with X, Y, and Z and pressures. Oh, I can handle 1 or 2 things on my shoulder, maybe 3, but too much.
Yes,
I'm out. And that
Overload.
was my nervous breakdown. Instead of having a nervous breakdown, going to the union dinner and having my kids taken away from me, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to regroup, and reinvent myself.
Okay. How did that work out?
I'm here today.
Oh, okay.
My children love me and they still talk to me. We survived. They're
Okay.
fantastic, young
Okay. Now
men.
that's in the long run,
In the long right, but at
but
the moment,
yes, in the short run though.
oh yeah, I've ended up homeless on
Wow.
more than one occasion, because of just things getting out of hand, out of control. And so there were tough moments, and where yes, my efforts failed. You
Hmm.
can even do your very best, and you can think that you have a plan, but everything was not there.
Hmm.
Things were going on a whim and a prayer, and everybody,
Hmm.
hope is not a plan.
Okay. Wait. Say that again for the people in the cheap seats.
Yes, hope is not a plan, people. And sometimes it was sort of a cry for help or act of desperation, that drastic thing. But then again, I wouldn't have learned everything that I needed to
Hmm.
learn to inform what I'm doing
Hmm.
now that will help others if I
Hmm.
hadn't gone through the journey myself.
Okay.
So, so being resilient and doing that inner work, like, why am I doing this again? What are these patterns in here? Getting into your head and your
Right.
heart, and healing that needs to take place.
Hmm.
And a lot of things boils down to feeling accepted and feeling loved and feeling safe, and
Yes.
things like that. And so all of that informs. So I combine decades of working for others in corporate America with decades of creativity in the performing arts, which I never stopped, no matter
Right.
what.
Right.
I was going through. There was always a show. There was
Yes.
always somewhere that I can contribute. And then, of course, then add to that the decades of the personal and professional development, doing the work, whether it was
Right.
reading the book, it was therapy, trying nutritional, supplemental, even pharmaceutical things. There was a journey,
Right.
but you take those three worlds, take the what I was born to do as far as being creative and lighting others up, inspiring them. Take that with working for others in a variety of things, usually sales, customer service, and administrative.
Right.
Take that, and then and put that with doing the mindset work. Okay,
Right.
yes. And so
Right.
now I feel like I'm a success. When you think about The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, right? Success, that is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And
Right.
it's like, ooh, okay, I am making progress. You may not even be able to see it yet, but I do. I know that one thing leads to another, and there's confirmation and affirmation that I'm on the right path as things open up, become more lucrative, and here we are. So
Right. Now you mentioned something interesting, and as I was listening to you talk, particularly when you're talking about the trials and tribulations you went through after you just had to tap out and
yeah,
homeless, whatever, and it just the journey, okay, and whether we're talking about Jesus and 40 days in the wilderness, whether we're talking about Siddhartha, whether we're talking about the Buddha, abandoning all worldly goods, there is this archetype of having to take this transformational journey, which might seem arduous, which might seem a sacrifice, if you will. And I don't even know that we have to go to the extremes. I mean, I myself have also been homeless several times in my pursuit of whatever. Um, but also, you mentioned the lessons learned, not only for yourself, but the lessons that you could now apply on behalf of others. And I think that's why this concept of the journey, of the trial, of the struggle is so significant and recurs in all cultures, in all philosophies, in all teachings and principles of the world. And I noticed, because I did know this about you, that your experience in corporate world and in employee engagement and things, and it's interesting that I don't know that I'm finding it out, but I'm really hearing and seeing how it fits together inside of this conversation.
yeah,
That the two worlds are not antithetical. Now, when you first started the 5DX experience, it wasn't so much, how am I going to take all of that experience that I had when I was, basically pursuing someone else's dream, punching someone else's time clock. But that's not past experience or former experiences, as you've worked out with me, and I'll get to that in a second. I tended to refer to myself as a former musician or a former artist, and now I realize, no, I'm an artist who right now is doing technical stuff and business advisory stuff, but that's still there. In fact, my bass and my guitar are out of the case, and they're on stands right out of the camera view. I'm not necessarily saying I play them every day, but they're there. They're one step closer, but now you said, hold up a second. What I'm trying to do as a creative person and appealing to people to tap in and explore and find the benefits and release and unleash their creative selves can be perfectly married and merged with this experience of employee engagement. And now I can find a way to make this a viable, like I said, if it's not consumable, you can't make a living off of it. So how do I go to the person who has money? Because in this, to the entrepreneurs in the audience, a lot of times we think that our customer is the person that will most benefit from our services. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes our customer is going to be the sponsor or the benefactor of the end user, the end consumer. And figuring that out is the difference between what our service is and what our business model is. Yeah. And I think what you're finding out is, I know what the service is that I deliver, but what's the business model so that I'm going to even be engaged and employed to deliver that value in the first place?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Cornell, because that was part of the journey. But you have to share your concept with people.
Yes.
And experiment with them in order to find out what the market needs.
Yes.
And to present your product in a context that's consumable, that is helpful, that people will find value in. And I know that this is a pretty unique proposition, but it's natural for me because the past 10 years I've been a licensed life and health insurance agent, at the annuities, the retirement factor. I've been in that employee benefit space.
Right.
And so there's a light bulb went off. Okay, let's bring this together and let me help everyone else who's working in a cubicle or an office somewhere. And I just put myself in their shoes because I was there, and I did light up. Everybody, and everyone gets in the services, in this path, on the 5 basic steps, it starts with a survey that they can share that is confidential. Only aggregate information is shared with management. Right. And it ends with them actually getting a personalized card in the mail in which their leadership team is recognizing the strengths that they acknowledged in the survey. Because I'm the one putting that together with their picture, beautiful card, and it comes in the mail, with some cookies or something. You gotta have a little cookies.
So it's tangible, and and I like that because it takes it out of the typical. Here's an email for management, dear employee number 503. We'd like to commend you for the blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, great, but you give me some Toll House butterscotch cookies with a card. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Now you got my attention. Okay, and it's sounding to me like it's an alchemy of all of your experiences, not trying to substitute one for the other, but wait, how do I take all of this stuff that is me? And this is what I was saying earlier, is that it's not about work-life balance. It's about how do I take all that I am and all that I have been and turn that into something. And part of finding that business model and where we stand in the marketplace is losing the fear of getting it wrong. And that's why I have this podcast, the Failure Guide Podcast. And as you know, for me, failure is an acronym that stands for First Attempts in Learning Using Real Experience. And so when you started out the 5DX experience, you had an idea of what you thought it was going to be. And now it is transformed into not something else, but you're like, okay, that was an interesting start. And that maybe that's the end service, but how do we get to the end service? And maybe rather than just directly here, what if we take this and then combine it with this and, how about that? And this makes a more plausible case to the people who have the money. But it's not just who's going to pay me, because that's better than who's not going to pay me, but that's a little crass. And as a creative person, it's not just who's going to pay me, who's going to see the greatest benefit from what I have to offer. Because as I like to say when I conduct workshops for aspiring entrepreneurs, what I call accidental entrepreneurs, is that sales is an exchange of value between two or more human beings. And to make the sale, the conversation is not about money. It's about the fact that when you communicate that the value I'm offering you is greater than the price I'm requiring for you to consume it, if it's what you want and you know that's what you need, and it's usually in that order, And as a technical guy, I used to try to sell the need before the want, and it doesn't work like that. So for what I'm hearing is you're looking at is like, what do I want? I want employee retention. I want my best employees to stay. I don't want disgruntled. I don't want people having to take mental, health days. I don't want people underperforming. But I'm a person too. I don't want to have to be a taskmaster. I don't want to have to crack the whip. That 20th century model of management, I'm not with that. But how do I get more out of my people without, driving them like, this is Ben-Hur and we're on, ramming the speed, in the galley slaves in the slave ship. And for them to see, guess what? There is an answer to that. And not only is there an answer to that, you and your employees are going to feel better when you implement this. You're going to see happier people. But look, let's talk, apples and oranges. You're going to see a hit in your bottom line. You're going to see productivity spike up. You're going to see profit spike up. You're going to see happier faces, fewer sick days, more productive people, retaining the best and the brightest. Where's the bad part?
You're absolutely. And yes, when they go home after having a great feel-good experience in employment, they're a better person in the community, in their family. And I wanted to make sure I let you know that part of this experience, see, I'm working with the company for a month or more, depending upon how many employees they have. We're going to have a party. We have to.
Yes.
So there's a theme song. We're going to create a theme song for the company that people can learn, a dance to go along with it. That physicality, that opens up so much.
Especially in the TikTok generation, it's all about dancing.
Yes.
So, come on.
Totally. And then how about improv? How about, what would it look like if we implemented some of these improvements and suggestions that we have for the company? What would it look like? Well, let's act it out and show you. Let's have some fun with that. So there's something for everyone. Not everyone wants to do the improv. Not everyone wants to sing or dance. But at least it's offered and it's fun to watch the bowls in your circle.
Yes.
Jump in there and do that. So you've got to have a party. You've got to have the music and the food and the fun and the creative expression as part of all of that.
Yes.
And there are varying degrees of value that the team is going to find in it.
Yeah.
But at least it was offered to them, and everyone should benefit from something by just shaking things up a little.
Now, so many fascinating things that you mentioned to try to get them all before this is on my mind. First of all, imagine people not only looking forward to going to work at the beginning of the shift, but actually leaving the shift feeling happy and fulfilled. Because my previous conversation that I had last episode, we talked about the fact of, without a joy experience or a joy plan in your life, I'm saying, well, that's why there's so many happy hours. In fact, think about it. That's literally what happy hours is about. It's like, you know what? Not only do I need a few drinks, you better knock off the price for them because I'm going to need a bunch of them. Okay. Okay. Because literally that's what happy hour is about. Cheap drinks from right at the end of the shift until like maybe the beginning of the full night at the bar, 2 for $1 drink specials. And then why is that? Because people leave their shift, they're miserable, they're frustrated, they're overworked, they're ground down to the nub. Also, another thing that you talked about in terms of the improv and implementation. Look, we're both of an age. The suggestion box has been part of the corporate experience since our parents were working. But how often do these corporations ever do more than collect slips of paper or forms and then do absolutely nothing with them?
Right.
But what I'm hearing is you saying, no, you're going to integrate as a part of what you're doing. You're going to implement the best ideas that people have. Because that's what's going to encourage people to participate and partake in this, to improv, when they can see, okay, and the freedom, not the suggestion box, write in the thing, fill out form 0607, but to have a sort of free form workshop or play shop. I love your take on that. Sort of experience. Throw spaghetti against the wall. Again, don't be afraid to get it wrong so that when you get it right and when you bounce around like a sort of improv, yes-anding things. And then again, you get to take that institutional knowledge and take the play and the creativity from outside the workforce. Guess what? There is no outside inside the workforce. It's all part of the same thing. And why wouldn't a corporation, and again, hopefully it will help the middle management particularly, get off of their thing that if the idea doesn't come from me, then I don't get the glory. Then it's like, you know what? Calm down, pal. You're part of this organic whole. When you see yourself as part of the band and not the solo instrument, then maybe things will go better because they'll go better for you. If you're the management and your team gets more productive, how do you not get the glory for that?
That's true. Yes. Begin with the end in mind, that winning mindset and attitude and being open to suggestions. I say being honest about your situation, being hungry to do better and more, and to be humble, to be open to accepting new ways of doing things. And there was a little thought I wanted to share that I escaped my mind.
That's okay. Hopefully it'll come back before the end of our conversation. But this is really, and again, I'm learning so much more about, what you're up to in the world. And I knew that I didn't fully understand it because I know since last we really talked about it thoroughly, I knew you were sort of, I wouldn't say transitioning, but pivoting and expanding and developing the concept. And this is definitely fascinating because I'm basically inside the conversation. Originally, when I conceived of this, I thought I was going to be talking to entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, and small business owners. In season 2, I'm kind of expanding the conversation more to just life in general. But as I said, there is no line of demarcation. Every entrepreneur is a human being and has a life. Unless somehow AI got a lot better than I realized that it did. I don't think there's any robots starting their own businesses just yet, or if they are, they're keeping that very secret. And nobody lives in suspended animation while they're applying their trade. We're alive every moment of the day, everything that we do, every task that we take upon ourselves. But this is such a fascinating concept to me because I was still kind of, it's like, yeah, but how do you, see, I'm kind of just getting out of the thing where I think a lot of people are stuck. It's like there's the corporate business, work a day, get the money, punch the clock world. And then there's the creative, sit around the campfire, play your guitar and sing tunes and kumbaya, or maybe have a bake sale, go and cook some things. And it's like, wait a minute, why do you think these are distinct elements of anything? First of all, there are professional musicians, they get paid, right? There are corporate musicians, let's face it, this is creative. Some of the highest paying gigs are corporate gigs that you're never going to see. You're not going to play a stadium. You're not going to be on Spotify, but you're going to make more money than a lot of the people that are playing clubs and that are going 8 months of the year in the van, touring here and there, of course. So because a corporation is going to pay you to entertain their guests, to entertain their prospects, to entertain their employees at that big end of year. We want to say thank you because we had a banner year, and here's the vacation. We're going to take you off to the spot and have the thing, and you're going to eat, right? So there's chefs and cooks, and maybe we're going to have a massage thing set up. Maybe we're going to have aromatherapy. And I think the 21st century corporate world is realizing, wait a minute, forget that Citizens United nonsense where corporations are a person. How about people are corporations? And I say this to folks, I say businesses don't do business with each other. The New York Times building on 8th Avenue is not a kaiju that's going to suddenly, the building is going to grow arms and legs like a transformer and start walking down it. That's a bunch of people. And without the people, that's just an empty building. Every business just consists of the human beings that are part of that organization. And what I hear you're talking about is getting the people who manage and operate these corporations to remember that. Hello, McFly, anybody home? It's like these are all people. The more you engage with them as people, the better and more productive your business is going to be, because all your business is people. Soylent Green, your company, it's people.
Yes. And they're serving people. And it reminded me of that, of an important pillar in this model. It is the work-life harmony, integration, and there's that we were talking about, what Ben-Hur and the chariot, boom, boom, and the push. But there's another way now. We're talking about being pulled toward our dreams instead of being pushed by a taskmaster with that negative compulsions, but being pulled toward what you want. And that's where we get into less hustle and more flow. That's the 20th century is about less hustle and more flow.
Yes.
So this is the way of the future as world conditions are getting so crazy and unpredictable. the economics and political system, all of these things. What's crazy? Let people embrace themselves and what they can do, be empowered, and then have more of that flow of just being their true self everywhere, and the good qualities in them that contribute to the whole, that they can pour into the way that they are paying their bills. Why not? This is the new way that this is being done. And thinking about being a parent of Gen Z, millennial Gen Z, that they have a different way of seeing the world. We have so many young entrepreneurs, and they're not following the same formula we used to have.
I seem to have lost you. Did your camera?
Right, something happened to the camera. I think my stuff is still plugged in for me. Oh, look, here, something happened in my video. I don't know what did that. Let's see if you can see me again.
Okay, there we go. And she's back.
What happened? Yes, I'm back. But that I'm just saying, let's take a clue from how these young people are coming up with so many ingenious ideas and ways of bringing good products to the market, and they're looking at things differently from a fresh lens. And that thing about self-care, preserving yourself, don't die pouring yourself out to this job and to the boss. There's a healthy way of bringing your whole healthy self to the way that you earn a living, working for someone else or for yourself. Let's tap into that. It's only the natural thing, the natural order of things is that we are able to use our gifts, and that we're able to enjoy life. And we don't have to have fun just during happy hour, but we're grinding during the day like a slave.
Right.
There's a way to make this a happy medium and integrate things so that we're flowing from one role in life to another, because we're just opening up places where there used to be dividers and boundaries. So that's what we're tapping into, I think.
I think that is so wonderful to the pull model, and I've had other conversations that talk about this contrast between the push and the pull. I think a good friend of mine puts it, let something push you until you're, until your dreams pull you, or whether your needs push you until your dreams pull you, or something like that. I forget how he phrased it, but this is to me so compelling, particularly in the context of 21st century business and economy. The term sustainability comes up usually in terms of the environment, but we are talking about the environment in which human beings are planted and will either thrive and flourish or will waste and wither. And that is where we spend most of our conscious day as adults, which is in the workplace.
Right.
So if the workplace does not become a healthy, organic, sustainable model, look, I'm a self-employed entrepreneur. I have to work for a living, and it's about that money. But either I'm chasing the money. In fact, in the context of the book that I'm working on now, Born Again Capitalist, I have this phrase. I say that the problem with 20th century capitalism is it doesn't look at the market as a group of people to serve. It looks at the market as a group of people to serve up on a platter.
Wow.
That they look at as people to consume, and rather than looking at the market as a herd of prey animals and I'm a predator, how about if I looked at my market as a field that I am to plant and to cultivate, and my profit is the harvest that comes from cultivating this field. And like a good farmer knows, you don't overplant your field. You have to rotate the crops. You have to till the soil. You have to nurture it. You have to pull out the weeds. You have to tend to it. And when you tend to it for generations, you kill all the herd animals. What happened to the dodo? What happened to all of the sardines off of Cannery Row in California? They're gone because we fished them and hunted them to extinction. But, if you've got a family farm, your great-grandparents could have worked that farm, and your great-grandchildren will work that farm. Because you treat it with respect, and it's sustainable, renewable resources. So should markets. So should because again, markets are people. They're people. And I hear you so loudly in what you're saying, and I love the fact this isn't a philosophical conversation for you, but you are turning this ideology, this philosophy, this personal belief into, but put it out there, folks, a sustainable business model.
That's what I feel, absolutely. And so I have some appointments coming up so I can present this and prospects, and so far so good, presenting this positive way of dealing with our jobs, that relationship with our work. This has taken off so much better, faster, and effectively in that flow than in the early days of my movement, of my creativity movement. So
Yes.
to me, this shows that this is the way to go.
Yes. And as you said, hope is not a plan, and you're like, oh, gee, I hope that people will see the, it's like, no. What is the plan for me to get out here? And again, I love the synthesis and the synergy of all of your experience, of everything that you've done. And because unlike a lot of artsy-fartsy kind of creative types, you know how to speak, not only how to speak corporate, which is its own argot, but how to speak to the corporate mindset and have them understand. Because if you're going to say, what the problem is that you treat your people like things and you grind them into dust and you need to change, as opposed to, hey, are you looking to boost your employee retention and productivity? How about this? Check this out. Like, oh my. And in fact, this can be measured in terms of that. And because you know all the metrics that they have. You know the key performance indicators, and you know terms like metrics and key performance indicators.
That's right.
So you know how to take what you're bringing them, almost like the Trojan horse or the wolf in sheep's clothing, present it. Oh no. This is just a new corporate strategy. Guess what? You became a human being. Didn't even realize it. Ha ha, gotcha. Well, I think that it's fascinating. I am, once again, I'm always glad to have conversation with you, Joanna, but I'm particularly elated. And as I say to people, and I mean it, I say this almost every episode, if no one else listens to these conversations, they are all a masterclass and an amazing workshop for me. I learned so much inside of every conversation. And I've known you for years. I've known what you're up to. But still, this has been such an eye-opening and very engaging and enlightening concept to see the strategy of how we bring creativity. And I hope all of you creatives out there, first of all, stop calling yourselves former creatives. Okay? You're creatives. And don't think that you have to directly do the thing you did, to sing, to dance, to play, to sculpt, whatever it was that you did. But there are ways, once we realize that it's like the work-life harmony. I love that. It's the harmony and balance. It's not the balance because they're not counterposing each other. They're not at odds or opposition. We're harmonizing all of it. And when we see that it's all about life and creativity is about life, and we go back to the child, look at everything. Look at your job. How can you look at your job and say, where can I see the creativity in this? I know what the task is. But inside of that, I've got objectives. I've got, things I got to do. I've got milestones I got to meet. How can I do that more creatively? And A, I'll meet those milestones easily and more happily. And B, maybe I'll see aspects and possibilities that I wouldn't have seen if I was just looking at it as like, okay, got to hit that quarterly mark and move the needle up on the thing and quarter over quarter, year over year. How about day over day and moment over moment and find a way? And then I take this out if I serve clients, if I serve vendors, if I serve business partners, and bring that out into the whole world. I see this starting a spark that's going to spread like a wildfire. This is some really amazing stuff, Joanna, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you. And as I've said with a few other guests, we're definitely going to have a follow-up in a few months or a year from now just to see how this is going, because this is amazing.
Sure will.
Any final thoughts as we're wrapping things up? Final words you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, just remember, think about abundance. There's plenty of room for you to be you. There are a plethora of ways that you can gamify your job, that you can add your unique flair within the context of what's expected of you. It's possible, but you have to develop that abundant mindset. And that's what I'll be doing with these clients. I'm going to have 30-minute consultations with each member of the team. I have suggested reading books that will help support them to really provide some guidance so that people can all be on their way to that journey, to being their full, authentic, fully expressed self with creativity, with play, with imagination, and with their unique artistry. It is possible. And I look forward to where things go from here and our follow up that to see what results I'm obtaining for the rest of this year.
Yes. And for those who are not watching this but who are listening to us, how would folks reach out and get in touch with you, Joanna?
Well, my website is mattana.org, MATTANNA.org. That's MATTANNA. And just start with the website. And I have links to social media. So LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can always just send me a DM if anything resonates with you, or comment on a post. Or I'm an open book, and I look forward to see how people respond. I love those one-on-one relationships. I do not use any automation.
Okay. Well, for now, but let's not act like that's a bad thing. You might grow to the point where you're going to have to do that, but
right. But right now, I want
touch.
you to know,
yes,
I will be responding.
Yes. And even as an IT person, I say this fact: I'm working on a website for a good friend and colleague of both of ours, and I say you can automate the means of communication, but you can never automate the communication. This is the mistake. Right. When I hear people use terms like an email blast, I say a blast is an unfocused distribution of energy, like throwing a grenade in the room. That's not what you're trying to do. Okay? You might want to send out a focused or a targeted campaign, but even then, it's one to many, but it's actually one to 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 one.
There you go.
It's never a bunch, unless you're talking to an audience full of people. When you're sending out the communication, and all that automation does is it helps you do the transcription and the delivery. But if you don't have a real human message behind all of that, first of all, it shows as soon as people see that thing hit their inbox, or there's the spam mail, come into their mailbox, and hey, subscriber, oh really? I don't have a name. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Tossed into the shredder. Well, thank you so much, Joanna. This has been very enlightening. And some of these concepts and principles, like everything, like I say, if nothing else, I get lots of really great ideas to adopt and implement in my own business. But just having that mindset of creativity, I think, is really great. And the fact that we're not at odds between our work and our life, that it's a harmony and a synthesis. It's not a balance or striving one against the other. And as I say to all of you, my dear listeners out there, remember that failure is just a first attempt in learning using real experience. It's just an opportunity for us to assess our performance. And all failure really is we didn't get the result that we expected. And it gets us to show what we're doing, to assess our performance, to take another crack at it. And when you have an attitude like Joanna's, where you're not afraid of getting it wrong, that's how you're going to find out how you're going to get it right. And so remember, folks, life is not a competition. And if it is a race, the only person we're competing with is the person we were the day before. Always looking to get better. So remember, never quit. Keep running. And I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.